Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand. Welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Saturday, October 15th, 2022. Little late, sorry about that. Had some issues trying to get in, but we corrected them. Look within, be still, free from fear and attachment. Know the sweet joy of living in the way. Every experience in our lives have the potential to become a spiritual experience. Even the most ordinary, boring human experiences can shift into these vast, deep, expansive, and personally enlightening connections with the divine. The discovery here is learning how to get out of the way and allow divinity to move through us. The moment we realize how fun it is to take our hands off the steering wheel and step out of the way, we start to become free. We allow our overly controlling egoic selves to surrender to something greater. Our relaxed, trusting, spacious connection with divinity. The moment this deeper letting go happens, this spiritual experience shifts into gear. Whatever problems you thought you had will instantly fade away, and you will see everything in a new light. The very moment you decide to just let go and merge with the benevolent force bigger than you, the magic starts to happen through you. Be aware that it can be scary for your ego to let go of control, yet also quite addictive because it feels so freeing, healing, and good. One of the craziest and most ironic truths about the spiritual path is that we already are all infinite spiritual beings who cannot die. We just forget this truth every day. We forget because we're only focused, and we're only focusing on our mind's attention on the things of this 3D world that are not infinite, vast, or eternal. The more we dwell on what's finite, the more we lose touch with what is infinite. The perpetual forgetting of our true infinite nature is the state of common ignorance the majority of the world is currently in. Everyone has forgotten this truth and continues to forget their true spiritual nature every day. So we think it's normal to be ignorant of our spiritual nature. We may even feel embarrassed if someone approaches us to ask if we remember our spiritual nature. We forget again and again and again, even a few minutes after we remember it. Spiritual amnesia is not accidental. It's an essential part of the divine plan. We need to be asleep in order to suddenly know that we've been awakened. The more we can become aware of our spiritual amnesia, the more we can liberate ourselves from it. The good news is that we can retrain our brains to remember this great truth by practicing the path of surrender. And surrender means surrendering your entire ego, the identity of beliefs which you've formed all around the real you, and letting go of attachment to it completely. There's nothing more frightening and exciting than deleting all the beliefs, ideas, assumptions, and pains that we have built up around ourselves. We are forced to step purely into the unknown. In this space, we must surrender to a higher spiritual source inside. It feels like a death, rebirth, and rejuvenation all at the same time. This perpetual letting go of attachment to our self-imposed identity, the ego, is what creates a spiritual experience out of every ordinary experience. When the ego realizes it no longer is in charge, it loses power over our perspective. And we see that everyone and everything in this universe is supported by the divine. We stop seeing the limited ego in others as we stop giving energy to the ego within ourselves. We stop seeing the limited ego in others as we stop giving energy to the ego within ourselves. To cling to life is to cling to the five senses, to normal consciousness, and thereby shunning the superconsciousness within, which is the Atman, is known. Patanjali Sutra. The greatest source of bliss, awareness, and love instantly shows up the moment we drop into our hearts and let our egos stop running the show. When we retrain our brains to the possibility that an all-intelligent, deeply eternal loving source of consciousness is behind every experience, the divine intelligence will present itself to us more often and more fully. With 100% trust, divinity suddenly becomes so obvious, so completely smack in your face, that you won't be able to deny its reality. The more frequently we give our life over to divinity, the more it melts away all these old primitive ideas of you and liberates the entangled, limiting beliefs that we've created around ourselves. The only thing stopping us from having a spiritual experience, even while we're reading, doing anything, is our ideas of how we are separate. The mind has a deep subconscious grip on what it believes is the reality and will do everything. Do not let it go. Yet by bringing more awareness to this grip, seeing that it is clinging out of pure fear of the unknown, we can slowly step through it. So please try to slow down. Slowly listen. Super slowly. Notice what happens inside your consciousness as you bring more awareness to your everyday experience. I am the source of the divine. I am the source of the divine. I am the source of the divine. Let this truth sink in. Don't try to believe it, yet let your body feel into it fully. The direct experience of our sacred spiritual essence is the only way the ego will ever give up and surrender. The direct experience of our sacred spiritual essence is the only way the ego will ever give up and surrender. It has to see that it is redundant and unnecessary for it to let go. No matter how much you struggle with integrating this truth, remember that every experience is the right experience. Every experience is a necessary step on your soul's journey into awakening. Every experience is completely perfect, which makes your life perfect exactly as it is. Healing is awakening to the perfection that already is ours. Baird T. spoke. That question posed to me, how will I know when I am having a spiritual experience? So I had to stop and feel into this question deeper before I responded. So I said, well, the first thing to know is that you'll feel a very expansive energy that's deeply healing and freeing from the inside. This expanded energy awareness will then follow you everywhere you go. There's also a sensation of magic that fills the air. And you will feel that anything is possible. The mind realizes that it no longer needs to be in control of anything. And you can actually enjoy every moment of your life. The shift into the living awareness that we are all spiritual beings will also bring up all sorts of emotional issues inside of us. We may even feel that our entire lives was one enormous lie. We may feel like we're going crazy and need to give up our job, friends, home, family, and move somewhere completely different to be alone. Remember, all the feelings of going crazy are caused by your ego trying to regain control. This is all part of the awakening process. If and when you let go into 100% trusting life, it will be obvious that it was your ego making you think things were not right. Now, if or when you ever happen to fall into this crazy, out-of-control category, I recommend that you lay down and breathe deeply for 10 to 15 minutes before you take any outrageous actions. Breathing helps to liberate the ego from its command post, and it helps us discover the truth of who we are. The truth will set us free, yet first, it will annihilate our ego. I've watched many people through the years, good people that were healers, and they were really out to do well for the other parts of themselves, the people. And the ego started to lose its control, and some of these people ended up in the insane asylum. They thought they were going crazy. And this is the reason why. And believe me, trying to convince one where the ego is trying to regain control, that's a real toughie, because they're convinced that something's wrong with them. The greatest spiritual shift often happens after you've invested enough time and energy into this new spiritual foundation. You will find the scales will tip on their own. Not when the ego thinks things should change, yet when the ego has fully given up control and is allowing your spiritual nature to run the show. Everything changes the moment you become rooted in your natural connection with divinity. You become receptive to the entire spiritual existence and are happily bathing in its divine presence every day without desire for more. When you are open to the possibility that everything in the universe is perfect and divinely orchestrated, it's easier to embrace it exactly as it is right now. When you can see the bigger picture, there's no more resistance, complaining, or efforting to get something better. You can find peace in any situation because you know that this life is eternal. And no matter what happens, you know that this too shall pass. To fire up your spiritual engines today, start each day by offering an honest and authentic thank you to yourself and this universe. To fire up your spiritual engines today, start each day by offering an honest and authentic thank you to yourself and this universe. Give gratitude for what is here now, what was, and whatever will come to be. Trust in this higher guidance and let your higher power show you the way. The more you are grateful for this life, the more life is grateful for you. Feel the feeling that you are loved and deeply cherished by this universe. You are not an accident. This universe needs you. Without you, the puzzle is missing an essential piece and is not complete. Open up to this experience of perfection. You are perfect, just exactly the way you are. By giving gratitude to existence for giving you life, this expansive, blissful feeling that we are all seeking is available in each moment. If you are open and can trust 100%, it will come pouring into your being. You can relax about your life. Simply choose to let the love in. Your heart will shine in all situations. Notice where the love in your heart is coming from. You'll feel better just by opening up your attention to this direction daily. This focus will till the soil to give roots for the spiritual experience waiting to blossom in your being. If you ever look inside and only see worry, stress, and fear instead of love, take a deep breath and relax. Notice where this worrying energy is physically showing up in the body and take a hold of that tension. Use it to drive you deeper inside. Follow it to the worst contracted source of pain that lives in you. Breathe it into that pain. Breathe into that pain. Breathe deep into the pain. Welcome it into the love that is inside your heart. Repeat this breathing process until you feel the tension subside. And this may make you squirm at first. Yet give 10 to 15 minutes before you give up. It will force you to meet your demons. Feel into your heart deeper than you ever have in your entire life. The heart is the source of your spiritual essence. It's the doorway to the very core of your eternal nature, where your spirit abides and the greatest life experiences are found. Give yourself permission to feel safe, to venture inwards. Focus on your heart religiously, and the lightness will begin to pour into you. This will soon give birth to living in a perpetual daily spiritual experience of life. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Dalai Lama. A wonderful thing happens when you make the absolute resolution and full decision to step into a more spiritual way of experiencing your life. It's as if a brilliant light starts shining into your future, guides you forward through each day. By devoting yourself every day to your spiritual path, you can only see the bigger picture, even when things are hectic and you feel out of sorts. There is a deeper undercurrent of love, awareness, and peacefulness that continues to spring up into your being all throughout your day. If you know you will be sidetracked by distractions or forget to see life as an amazing spiritual adventure, we have created a way to keep you on track. And that's your focus. Learning how we have been arranged on this planet. A good word is taboo. taboo. First, it is indirect. It is hidden. It is not apparent. Because whenever a taboo is too obvious, it will not work. The taboo has to be very hidden. So you don't know how it works. The taboo has to be so hidden that you cannot even imagine that thing against it is possible. The taboo has to go into the unconscious, not into the conscious. How to make it so subtle and so indirect? The trick is, first go on teaching that love is great, so people never think that the priest and the politicians are against love. Go on teaching that love is great, that love is the right thing, and then don't allow any situation where love can happen. Doesn't that sound familiar? Don't allow the opportunity. Don't give any opportunity. And go on teaching that food is great, that eating is a great joy. Eat as well as you can, but don't supply anything to eat. Keep people hungry and go on talking about love. So all the priests go on talking about love. Love is praised as highly as anything, just next to God, and denied every possibility of happening. Directly, they encourage it. Indirectly, they cut its roots. This is the masterpiece. No priests talk about how they have done the harm. It is as if you go on saying to a tree, be green, bloom, and joy. And you go on cutting the roots so that the tree cannot be green. And when the tree is not green, you can jump upon the tree and say, listen. You don't listen. You don't follow us. We go on saying, be green, bloom, enjoy, dance. And meanwhile, you go on cutting the roots. Love is denied so much, and love is the rarest thing in the world. It should not be denied. If a man can love 5 persons, he should love 5. If a man can love 50, he should love 50. If a man can love 500, he should love 500. Love is so rare that the more you can spread it, the better. But there are great tricks. You are forced into a narrow, very, very, very narrow corner. You can love only your wife. You can love only your husband. You can love only this. You can love only that. The conditions are too much. It is as if there was a law that you can breathe only when you are with your wife. You can breathe only when you are with your husband. Then breathing will become impossible. Then you will die. And you will not even be able to breathe while you are with your wife or with your husband. You have to breathe 24 hours a day. Be loving. Then there is another trick. They talk about higher love, and they destroy the lower. They say that the lower has to be denied. Bodily love is bad. Spiritual love is good. Have you ever seen any spirit without a body? Have you ever seen a house without a foundation? The lower is the foundation of the higher. So the body is your abode. The spirit lives in the body, with the body. You are an embodied spirit and an ensouled body. You are together. And the lower and the higher are not separate. They are one, rungs of the same ladder. The lower has to be denied. The lower has to be transformed into the higher. The lower is good. If you are stuck with the lower, the fault is with you, not with the lower. Nothing is wrong with the lower rung of a ladder. If you are stuck with it, you are stuck. It is something in you. Move. Sex is not wrong. You are wrong if you are stuck there. Move higher. The higher is not against the lower. The lower makes it possible for the higher to exist. And these tricks have created many other problems. Each time you are in love, somehow you feel guilty. A guilt has arisen. When there is guilt, you cannot move totally into love. The guilt prevents you, keeps you holding on. Even while making love to your wife or your husband, there is guilt. You know this is sin. You know you are doing something wrong. Saints don't do it. You are a sinner. So you cannot move totally, even when you are allowed superficially to love your wife. The priest is hidden behind you in your guilt. He is pulling you from there, pulling your strings. When guilt arises, you start feeling that you are wrong. You lose self-worth. You lose self-respect. And another problem rises. When there is guilt, you start pretending. Mothers and fathers don't allow their children to know that they make love. They pretend. They pretend that sex does not exist. Their pretension will be known by the children sooner or later. When the children come to know about the pretension, they lose all trust. They feel betrayed. They feel cheated. And fathers and mothers say that their children don't respect them. You are the cause of it. How can they respect you? You have been deceiving them in every way. You have been dishonest. You have been mean. You are telling them not to fall in love. Beware. And you are making love all the time. And the day will come sooner or later when they will realize that even their father, even their mother, was not true with them. How can they respect you? First, guilt creates pretension. Then pretension creates alienation from people. Even the child, your own child, will not feel in tune with you. There is a barrier, your pretension. One day, you will come to know that you are just pretending, and so are others. When everybody is pretending, how can you relate? When everybody is false, how can you relate? How can you be friendly when everywhere there is deception and deceit? You become very, very, very sore about reality. You become very bitter. You see it only as a devil's workshop. And everybody has a false face. Nobody is authentic. Everybody is carrying masks. Nobody shows his original face. You feel guilty. You feel that you are pretending. And you know that everybody else is pretending. Everybody is feeling guilty. Everybody has become just like an ugly wound. Now it is very easy to make these people slaves, to turn them into clerks, station masters, schoolmasters, deputy collectors, ministers, governors, presidents. Now it is very easy to distract them. You have distracted them from their roots. Sex is the root, hence the name Muladhara in the language of Tantra and Yoga. Muladhara means the root energy. I have heard it was her wedding night. and the haughty Lady Jane was performing her marital duties for the first time. "My lord," she asked her bridegroom, "is this what the common people call lovemaking?" "Yes, it is, my lady," replied Lord Reginald, and proceeded as before. After a while, Lady Jane exclaimed indignantly, "It is too good for the common people. The common people have not really been allowed lovemaking. It is too good for them. But the problem is that when you poison the whole common world, you are also poisoned. If you poison the air that the common people breathe, the air that the king breathes will also be poisoned. It cannot be separate. It is all one. When the priest poisons the common people, finally, he also is poisoned. When the politician poisons the common people's air, finally, he also breathes the same air. There is no other air." A curate and bishop were in opposite corners of a railway car carriage on a long journey. As the bishop entered, the curate put away his copy of Playboy and started reading the Church Times. The bishop ignored him, went on doing the Times crossword. Silence prevailed. After a while, the curate tried to make conversation, and when the bishop began to do a lot of head scratching and tutting, the curate tried again. "Can I help you, sir?" "Perhaps. I'm only beaten by one word." "What is that?" "It has 4 letters. The last 3 are UNT, and the clue is essentially feminine." "Why, sir," said the curate after a slight pause, "that would be ant." Of course, said the bishop. "I say, young man, can you lend me an eraser?" When you repress things on the surface, they all go deep inside into the unconscious. It is there. Sex has not been destroyed, fortunately. It has not been destroyed. It has only been poisoned. It cannot be destroyed. It is life energy. It has become polluted, and it can be purified. Your life problems can basically be reduced to your sex problem. You can go on solving your other problem, but you will never be able to solve them because they are not true problems. And if you solve your sex problem, all problems will disappear because you have solved the basic one. But you are so afraid even to look into it. It is simple. If you can put aside your conditioning, it is very simple. It is as simple as this story. Frustrated spinster was a pest to the police. She kept ringing up saying there was a man under her bed. She was finally sent to a mental hospital where they gave her the latest drugs, and after some weeks, a doctor came to interview her and determine whether she had been cured. "Miss Rustafin," the doctor asked, "do you see a man under the bed now?" "Miss Rustafin," the doctor asked, "do you see a man under the bed now?" "No, I don't," she said. But just as the doctor was ready to sign her release, she said, "Now I can see too." The doctor told the hospital staff that there was only really one sort of injection that would cure her complaint, which he called malignant virginity. He suggested that they set her up in her bedroom with Big Dan, the hospital carpenter. Big Dan was fetched, told what the woman's complaint was. and that he would be locked in with her for an hour. He said it would not take that long, and an anxious group gathered on the landing. They heard, "No, stop it. Stop it, Dan. Mother would never forgive me. Shut up your yelling. It's got to be done sometime. It should have been done years ago." Have your way by force then, you brute. It's only what your husband would have done had you had one. The matters could not wait. They burst in. "I have cured her," said the carpenter. "He has cured me," said Miss Ristafin. He had sawed the legs off of the bed. See? Sometimes the cure is very simple, and you go on doing 1,001 things. And the carpenter did well, just cutting the legs off the bed. It was finished. Now, where could the man hide? Sex is the root of almost all of our problems. It has to be so because of thousands of years of poisoning. A great purification is needed. Reclaim your freedom. Reclaim your freedom to love. Reclaim your freedom to be, and then life is no longer a problem. It is a mystery. It is an ecstasy. It is a benediction. See, we've, in this quiet time during this guided meditation, you begin to unfold oneself. And only you do that. And only you have the choice and the decision to do that. But you begin to feel the frequency, the vibration in your heart mind, that all of this has been played on the people of this planet. And to unfold it with oneself means that you will understand with yourself. I heard that the Pope, addressing the youth in Latin America, said, "My dear ones, beware of the devil. The devil will tempt you with drugs, alcohol, and most particularly premarital sex." Now, who is this devil? Have you ever met him? He has never tempted me. I don't think any of you have ever met the devil. Or that he has actually tempted you. Desires come from your own nature. It is not some devil who is tempting you. But it is a strategy of religions to throw the responsibility on an imaginary figure, the devil, so you don't feel you are being condemned. You are being condemned, but indirectly. The Pope is saying to you that you are the devil, but he has not the guts to say that. So he is saying that the devil is something else, a separate agency, whose only function is to temper people. But isn't it very strange? Millions of years have passed, and the devil is not tired. He goes on tempting. And what does he gain out of it? In no scripture have I found what is his reward for all the arduous work for millions of years. Who is paying him? By whom is he employed? That is one thing. And the second, is not your God omnipotent? That's what your scriptures say, that God is all-powerful. If he is all-powerful, can he do a simple thing? Just stop this devil from tempting people? Rather than going to every person and telling every person, don't be tempted by the devil. Why not finish this one, devil? Or whatsoever he wants, give it to him. This is something to be decided between God and the devil. What business is it of ours to be unnecessarily trampled between these two? God has not been able in millions of years to convince the devil or to change the devil or to finish the devil. And if God is so powerless before the devil, what about his poor people to whom these representatives of God go on saying, don't be tempted by the devil? If God is so powerless and impotent before the devil, what can ordinary human beings do? For centuries, these people have been telling these lies, and not even once have they themselves tried to be responsible. This is irresponsibility, telling young people, be aware of the devil is going to tempt you. In fact, this man has put the temptation already in the minds of these people. They may not have been thinking right then of drugs, alcohol, premarital sex. They had come to listen to the Pope, to some spiritual sermon, and they will go back home thinking of premarital sex and how to get tempted by the devil, where to find the drug dealers. But alcohol is certainly not a temptation of the devil, because Jesus Christ was drinking alcohol. Not only drinking it, but making it available to his apostles. Alcohol is not against Christianity. Christianity accepts alcohol perfectly, because to deny alcohol would be putting Jesus in jeopardy. Jesus was not a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. He enjoyed drinking. And he has never said that drinking is a sin. How could he say it? Now the Pope seems to be far more religious than Jesus Christ. And I can certainly visualize that if the only begotten Son drinks the Father, right? Drinks, the Father must be a drunkard, and the Holy Ghost too. These people may be the cause, because from where did Jesus learn? Certainly the devil could not tempt him. We know that the devil used to try to tempt him. He said to the devil, get behind me. I'm not to be tempted by you. But these people seem to be mentally sick. You never come across the devil. You don't talk with the devil this way. Get behind me and let me go on my way. Don't prevent me. Don't try to tempt me. And if you do say these things and somebody hears, he's going to inform the nearest police station. Here comes a man who is talking to the devil, and we don't see any devil anywhere. Jesus is also contaminated by the rabbis and the priests. It is the same company, just with different labels and different trademarks. But the business is the same. The company is the same. Their work is the same. They corrupt human beings. They destroy your innocence. This Pope is worried about premarital sex. Must be on his mind. Otherwise, how can this warning come out of it? And that is his most emphatic point. But what is wrong with premarital sex? It was a problem in the past, but have you entered into the 20th century or not? It was a problem in the past because sex can lead to pregnancy, to children. Then the problem will arise of who is going to bring up those children. Then, who is going to marry that girl who has a child? So there will be complications and difficulties. There need not be. It is just in the mind. In fact, most marital difficulties arise because premarital sex is denied. It is as if you are told that until you are 21, you cannot swim. Don't be tempted by the devil. Pre-adult swimming is a sin. Okay, one day you become 21, but you don't know how to swim. And thinking that now you are 21, you are allowed to swim. You jump into the river. You are jumping to your death. Because just by becoming 21, there is no necessity, there is no intrinsic law that you will be able to swim. And when are you going to learn? What actually are these people saying? They are saying that before entering the river, you should learn to swim. If you enter the river, you are committing a sin. But where are you going to learn to swim? In your bedroom? Or your mattress? On your mattress? For swimming, you will need to go to the river. There are Aboriginal tribes that are far more human natural, where premarital sex is supported by the society, encouraged, because that is the time to learn. At 14 years of age, the girl becomes sexually mature. At 18 years of age, the boy becomes sexually mature. And the age is going down. As human societies become more scientific, technological, the food is sufficient and health is taken care of, and the age goes on falling. And American girls become mature earlier than in India. And of course in Ethiopia. How can you become sexually mature? You will die long before. In America, the age has fallen from 14 to 13 to 12 because physically people are more energetic, have better food, a more comfortable life. They become sexually mature early, and they will also be able to function longer than in poor countries. In India, people simply cannot believe when they read in the newspapers that some American at the age of 90 is going to get married. The Indians cannot believe it. What is happening to those Americans? By the time an Indian is 90, he has been in the grave almost 20 years. Only his ghost can get married, not he. And even if they are in their bodies, a 90-year-old person marrying a woman who is 87, just great. Simply unbelievable. And they go on a honeymoon. They are really very practiced. They have done this all their lives, many times, getting married, going on a honeymoon, and they have been fortunate enough to do that in one life. They have lived at least 5, 6, 7 lives. Premarital sex is one of the most important things to be decided by human society. The girl will never be more alive sexually than she is at the age of 14. The boy will never be so sexually alive as he is at the age of 18. When nature is at its peak, you prevent them. By the time the boy is 30, you allow him to get married. He is already declining in his sexuality. In his life energy, he is already on the decline. He is losing interest. Biologically, he is already 14 or 16 years late. He has missed the train long ago. It is because of this that so many marital problems arise and so many marital counselors thrive, because both partners have passed their peak hours, and those peak hours were the time when they could have known what orgasm truly is. Now they read about it in books, and they dream of it, fantasize about it, and it doesn't happen. They are too late. The popes are standing in between. Don't be tempted by the popes. These are the real evil ones. They will spoil your whole life. They have spoiled the lives of millions of people. When you are 30, you cannot have that quality, that intensity, that fire that you had when you were 18. But that was the time to be celibate, not to be tempted by the devil. Whenever the devil tempts you, you start praying to God, repeating a mantra. Om Mani Padme Hum. That's what the Tibetans do. Whenever you see a Tibetan quickly doing Om Mani Padme Hum, you can be certain he is tempted by the devil, because that mantra is used to make the devil afraid. And the faster you do it, the faster the devil will run away. In India, there exists a small book, Hanuman Chalisa. It is a prayer to the monkey god, Hanuman, who is thought to be a celibate and a protector of all those who want to remain celibate. So all the people who want to remain celibate are worshippers of Hanuman. And this small book you can memorize very easily. They go on repeating this prayer. So Hanuman goes on protecting their celibacy, goes on protecting them from the devil, who is always around, waiting for the chance to get hold of them and tempt them. Does this sound like a storyline to any of you? Nobody is tempting you. It is simply nature, not the devil. And nature is not against you. It is all for you. In a better human society, premarital sex should be appreciated just the way it is appreciated in a few Aboriginal tribes. The reasoning is very simple. First, nature has prepared you for something. You should not be denied your natural right. If the society is not ready for you to get married, that is society's problem, not yours. The society should find some way. The Aboriginals have found the way. It is very rare that a girl gets pregnant. If a girl gets pregnant, the boy and the girl get married. There is no shame about it. There is no scandal about it. There is no condemnation about it. On the contrary, the elders bless the young couple because they have proved that they are vigorous. Nature is powerful in them. Their biology is more alive than anybody else's, but it rarely happens. What happens is that every boy and every girl become trained. In Aboriginal societies, it is a rule that after the 14th year, the girl, and after the 18th, the boy, are not allowed to sleep in their houses. They have a common hall in the middle of the village where all the girls and all the boys go to sleep. Now, there is no need for them to hide behind the car, in the carport. This is ugly. This is society forcing people to be thieves, deceivers, liars. And their first experiences of love have happened in such ugly situations, hiding, afraid, guilty, knowing that it is a temptation of the devil. They cannot enjoy it when they are capable of enjoying it to its fullest and experiencing it at its peak. What I'm saying is that if they had experienced it at its peak, its grip over them would have been lost. Then their whole life, they would not be looking at Playboy magazines. There would be no need. And they would not be dreaming about sex, having sexual fantasies. They would not be reading third-rate novels and looking at Hollywood movies. All this is possible because they have been denied their birthright. In the Aboriginal society, they live together in the night. One rule only is told to them. Don't be with one girl more than 3 days, because she is not your property. You are not her property. You have to become acquainted with all the girls and she has to become acquainted with all the boys before you choose your life partner. Now, this seems to be absolutely sane. Before choosing a life partner, you should be given a chance to be acquainted with all available women and all available men. You can see all over the world that neither arranged marriage has been successful, nor what you call love marriage. Both have failed. And the basic reason is that in both cases, the couple is inexperienced. The couple has not been given enough freedom to find the right person. There is no other way than through experience to find the right person. Very small things can be disturbing. Somebody's body smell may be enough to spoil your whole marriage. It is not a great thing, but it is enough every day. How long can you tolerate it? But to somebody else, the smell may be very fitting. Maybe the smell that he likes. Just let people have experience, and particularly now, when problems of pregnancy are no longer there. Those aboriginals were courageous to do it for thousands of years, and then, too, there have not been many problems. Once in a while, the girl may get pregnant, then they get married. Otherwise, there is no problem. In those tribes, there are no divorces because, of course, once you have looked at all the women, have been with all the women of the tribe, and then you choose, now what else are you going to change? You have chosen out of experience. So in those societies, there is no need. There is no question of divorce. The question has not arisen. It is not that divorce is not allowed. The very question of divorce has not arisen in those tribes. They have not thought about it. It has never been a problem. Nobody has said they want to separate. All civilized societies suffer from marital problems because the husband and wife are almost enemies. You can call them intimate enemies, but that does not make any difference. It is better that the enemies are far away and not too intimate. If they are intimate, that means that it is a 24-hour-a-day war continuously, day in and day out. And the simple reason is the stupid idea of these religious teachers, beware of premarital sex. If you want to beware of marital sex, because that is where the problem is. Premarital sex is not a problem, particularly now when all sorts of birth control methods are available. Every college, every university, every school should make it a point that every child, girl, or boy goes through all kinds of experiences, all types of people, and finally chooses. This choice will be based and rooted in knowing and understanding. But the problem for the Pope is not that the whole of humanity is suffering from marriage, that all couples are suffering from marriage, and that because of their suffering, their children start learning the ways of suffering. He's not concerned. His whole concern is that birth control methods should not be used. In fact, the Pope is not saying, beware of the devil. He is saying, beware of birth control methods. Real problems are not being dealt with, only unreal, bogus ones. And he goes on advising the entire world. You can see and experience. Some of this sounds really far-fetched and really out there because we've never been exposed to this understanding. And then you start to realize this makes a lot of sense. And then you begin to understand, look at the root of the problems in social interaction, in marital interaction, in physical interaction. You see how they've designed things? I'll join you in meditation and I'll return to close us out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose. And an easy and slow breath out of the mouth. And remain still. Take an exotic tropical vacation from the working mind. Drink in all the sensual pleasures of this moment. And wave those thoughts goodbye. You can easily breathe in the wonderful aroma of your life now. Melt into the soft, warm sand and completely let go, relax, and rest. Your whole being is perpetually bathing in tropical sunshine of this deeply eternal, loving moment. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night and following morning. We'll return here Sunday, October 16th, 2022, 3 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call. And be good